You're home. The silence is still there, but it's softer. Bakugou pulls out a notepad and literally starts sketching the corridor layout. He's not yelling anymore. He's drilling you. It's his way of making sure you never feel that lead in your stomach again. But as he talks, his hand starts to shake. How do you stop the lesson that he's giving you and address the fact that he's actually traumatized by how close he came to losing you? The ride back to the agency was silent in the way that only fury could make it. Thick, suffocating, the kind of quiet that pressed against your eardrums and made you hyper aware of every small sound. The hum of the vehicle's engine, the distant wail of sirens, still working the scene you left behind. Kirishima's sharp exhale every time the van hit a bump. His hand pressed to his ribs, where the villain's blast had caught him. You sat in the back between them, and somehow that felt worse than sitting alone. Bakugou hadn't looked at you once since they pulled you out of the corridor. He sat with his forearms braced on his knees, jaw locked, eyes forward. Kirishima had his head tipped back against the wall of the van, eyes closed, and you couldn't tell if he was resting or just choosing not to look at you either. The debrief happened fast. Your handler went through the timeline with clinical precision, and when they got to the part where the mission collapsed, 2147, unidentified noise in the corridor C, hostiles alerted. Nobody in the room needed to look at the footage to know whose footsteps it had been. Yours. You'd caught your boot on a loose grate. One sound, 2 seconds. That was all it took for the hostages to be moved, for the extraction route to be sealed, for Kirishima to take a hit, covering your retreat. 6 people were still out there somewhere. Because of 2 seconds, the handler dismissed the team. People filed out. You stood up too slowly. Stay. Bakugou's voice was flat, not a request. Kirishima didn't move either. The room emptied. The door clicked shut. For a moment, nobody spoke, and the silence had teeth. Katsuki, you started. Don't. He turned to face you then, finally, and you almost wish he hadn't. His eyes were red and burning, and so carefully controlled, it scared you more than if he'd yelled. Don't start with my name like that, like you're trying to soften it. I'm not trying to soften anything, You made noise. His voice stayed low, measured. That was somehow way worse than the explosion you'd been bracing for. We went over the entry 3 times in briefing. 3 times. Silent approach. Single file. No deviation. You know what silent means. I know what silent means. Then, what happened? You opened your mouth, closed it. What was there to say? I miscalculated the spacing. I wasn't watching my footing. I made a mistake. All of it was true, but none of it was enough. I caught my foot on the grate. You said quietly. It was dark and I misjudged the step. Everyone else managed fine. Katsuki. Kirishima's voice came from behind you, gentle but firm, a warning in one word. Bakugou's jaw tightened. He looked away, pressing his knuckles against the table, and you could see the effort it was taking him to stay controlled. 6 people, he said, almost to himself. 6 people who were right there. We had eyes on the room. We had the route And then he stopped, exhaled hard through his nose. He turned to look at Kirishima. He was sitting on the edge of the table, still in his hero suit, the bruising along his left side visible, where the fabric had been cut away for the medic. He was watching you with an expression that was harder to read than Bakugou's anger. Something quiet and tired and a little bit disappointed, and that hurt more than all of it. Ichi, he said softly. I'm okay, he said. Before you ask, bruised ribs, nothing cracked. I've had worse. That's not the point. Bakugou cut in. I know it's not. He turned back to him. I'm not trying to make it about his injury. I know what went wrong. I know it was me. Do you? Because you've been in the field long enough to know better. This wasn't a rookie mistake. This was careless. The world landed, like a slap. He felt your throat tighten. You're right. He blinked, like he'd expected you to fight back, and didn't know what to do now that you hadn't. You're right, I was careless. I wasn't focused the way I should have been, and people are going to suffer for it. I know that. I'm going to have to live with that. I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight. I'm not asking either of you to tell me that it's fine, because it's not. But I need you to know that I understand what I did. The room was very quiet. Bakugou stared at you for a long moment. Something moved across his face. The anger was still there, still real, but underneath it was something rawer, something that looked almost like fear, wearing anger's clothes. You could have gotten pulled, he said, and his voice had dropped. If shitty air hadn't. I know. I don't do this well when it's you. I know that too. Kirishima slid off the table and crossed the room, and when he reached you, he put his hand on the back of your neck. He didn't say anything for a second, just looked at you. We're not done being upset. Tonight was bad and we need to actually talk about it, not just let it disappear. Okay. But we're also going to need you to not disappear into your head about it. You know how you get. You did know. You'd already felt it starting. The spiral. The replaying. Come home first, Kirishima said. We'll talk, not just heat of the moment. Bakugou was quiet for another beat, and then he moved toward the door, pausing just beside you. He didn't touch you, but his shoulder was close enough to yours that you could feel the warmth of him. You're lucky you're still walking, he said gruffly. It was, coming from him, almost an, I was scared for you. Almost. You nodded. I know. He walked out first. Kirishima kept his hand on you a moment longer before dropping it. Come on, he said quietly. Long night's not over yet. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you liked this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and goodbye.